So we gotta get this train going.
Money you've ever made from a single video.
I have YouTube videos that have probably earned for sure 40 grand, and I bet if recent numbers would be around $50,000 from one YouTube video.
Have you ever put out a video that you truly regretted posting? Hi, it's Mel here from the Think Media team, and I am getting to interview Sean Cannell. We are going to be diving into all things today: money, moral conflicts, and of course, we're going to be looking at the true side of Sean Cannell that you don't know just from watching the podcast. So I've actually had the honor of knowing Sean for 5 years now, but I always say that small business years are like dog years. It feels much longer. We've been through a lot. And so I'm excited to be able to interview you today, Sean. Speaking of that, first question out the gate is, how is Sean in front of the camera different than just Sean like chilling on the couch on a Friday night?
That's a good question. And actually, in just a second, I want to hear your answer and give you permission to be fully unvarnished. I feel like, at least from a self-awareness perspective, that sometimes when I get on camera, I turn it on more. When I get on stage, I turn it on more energy, more humor. And that sometimes probably in person, I can be pretty toned down and super chill. Now, I think there's my personality that's super chill. I also think there's a kind of a somewhat sad or challenging part of this, which is I go so hard in my craft that I push myself to fatigue, so I can be also just generally tired. And so that's the results that maybe my family gets. If I'm even more nuanced about that, one of the interesting things about couples is they say men speak about 5,000 words a day. Women speak about 15,000. And a problem for couples is that if a man goes to work from 9 to 5, he's probably used up all of his words. And then when he gets home, if his partner or spouse is like, I feel like you don't have a ton of energy or a lot of engagement or whatnot, man, he's depleted. He only had 5,000 words. And I feel like I communicate and speak words for a living. So if we do web classes and meetings and processing issues and all of this stuff in a day, that sometimes between 9 to 5, when I get off work, there is again some fatigue that is set in, or just a depletion that is set in. That's a whole, I don't know, maybe help somebody listening to the podcast for their own marriage to think about how they could potentially, at least be thoughtful about that. So I am trying to think about how can I turn it on, be really present for my wife, my kids, crank it up. So that's the thing that comes to mind. I do feel like I'm the same person, but there is something about, of course, on stage, you're going to be different than you are just at a party and a social event. You'd be different on video. I do try to, I talk constantly on camera. In person, I feel like I try to listen more and just try to, and so I don't know, but I do completely, I could be wrong too. I don't know what I don't know. You see me in both environments. What do you observe?
Well, I do think that you're absolutely right that we kind of call it customer service voice sometimes, right? Or it's like your camera voice. Of course, you're going to have more energy. That's actually your recommendation to people. We tell people that all the time. So of course, there's going to be those nuances, but I think there's a definite through line between you and your personal life, you at church, you at social events, and you on camera. You are a consistent person. Absolutely. We actually just recorded a whole other section of this interview together, and it really does feel just like we're talking to each other. The way, how you communicate with other people, the details that you share, obviously you're just very open and transparent. So every story you told, I never had a second of thinking, oh, it wasn't quite the way it was, or, oh, that's a little embellished. No, it is the same. It's just as if we were talking on Zoom on a random meeting during the day. So I think that is one thing I would want everybody to be able to see, is a little bit more of Sean, chill, fun. You also get super goofy sometimes. I don't think people get to see that as much.
It'd be nice to get that on the podcast. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get it. If you join us on a web class, one of our classes we do, that's where you get Sean a little more
and
goofy.
some challenges, especially after
yes.
all those sessions. One of those Q&As just starts getting super random, super delirious. I love that environment.
Delirious Sean is by far the most fun Sean. But as far as your character and everything, that is absolutely consistent. And I love that people are going to get to see a little bit more of that, hopefully with these more in-depth questions throughout these videos. So the first question I want to get into, let's just dive right into money talk. So everybody wants to hears us talking about our monetization strategies in our web classes and videos. But what is the most money you've ever made from a single video?
So I want to say it's around $36,000. It might be higher than that, but that is how much Think Media made off what's called a content marathon. And I did a whole training about it. Now, where things get really interesting is there is like direct monetization and there's maybe indirect monetization, which you'd call like brand building. So what about the influence and the subscribers, and what if that led to other things? There's also the fact that over time at Think Media, we've built out multiple streams of income. So one video might make X number of dollars in ad revenue, but it also could produce X number of dollars based on affiliate link clicks. And then it also may promote an online course or a book, which also would generate sales. And we work really hard at Think Media to track, thanks to you, our chief marketing officer, who's a genius, and you've got an incredible team, including you and Jeffrey, who does paid advertising, as well as what's called Wicked Reports. It's a higher end software with crazy levels of tracking in terms of tracking when someone started their journey with you, discovered you, entered into your email list, when they maybe purchased something or whatever. We're using UTM codes and all of that stuff. And that's a high level of mastery and sophistication and attention to detail. So we can track things. However, I think there's no way to track if someone went to Amazon and bought YouTube Secrets because they saw it in almost like quote unquote product placement or something, the book. I'm very obsessed with having integrity in numbers and integrity in everything in our business. So I like to identify what is trackable. Perhaps that's around the $36,000 for a video on ad revenue, but then there's the other ways of tracking it. The other example is that there's a class we do consistently that does track about $36,000 in affiliate revenue from that exact product SKU. It's a lighting kit. So I did a light review, kind of a tutorial of a particular light, a budget light kit for YouTube. That video has earned only $4,000 in ad revenue, but it has earned about $36,000 in affiliate marketing. And so there's another one that's around $40K. So I think as far as like a singular video in direct monetization terms, yes, I have YouTube videos that have probably earned for sure 40 grand. And I bet if recent numbers would be around $50,000 from one YouTube video.
It's wild. Have you ever had sticker shock of what somebody was willing to pay you for something you did on your channel?
Have I ever had sticker shock for something that somebody, like the amount of money they were willing to pay me for like coaching?
Yeah. Have you ever felt like somebody, like they should not be giving me this much money for what they're asking me for?
Well, I mean, these days, again, I'm a small town kid, college dropout, and I mean it sincerely when I say that as soon as I could go to Chipotle with my wife, Sonia, and get my burrito salad bowl and get double chicken and get the stir-fried veggies, and I put the hot sauce and the pico de gallo on there, and I get all the way down to the end of the line, and they say, would you like some guacamole? And I go, absolutely, I would. And they go, it's going to be $2.86. And I'm like, make it 2 scoops then, because those avocados are healthy. But like, legitimately, as soon as I became, if you will, price insensitive to guacamole, which, make no mistake, right? I'm incredibly empathetic. I was born in America, definitely middle class, lower middle class for a while. Family is incredibly entrepreneurial, but from maybe 6 to 14, I just remember our family was always worried about money. I remember some Christmas gifts, certain seasons when I remember my mom got me a peachy, like a folder, and I was like, I don't want to be like ungrateful, but as a child, I was like, this is like, school supplies, like for Christmas, And so just having these different money memories and thinking about, growing up in that environment, by all means, I also was incredibly blessed, always fed, always lights on, always roof over my head. So like, there's so many different circumstances around the world. But saying that, I am very empathetic to where you're out. Sonia and I got married at 21. You're trying to have a date night, but you're just stressed about money. You're like, maybe we shouldn't order an appetizer. Like maybe we should split. Red Robin was our play. Not only did I work there for 10 years, but the move was Red Robin, California chicken burger, cut in half, bottomless fries. You just took one meal. Come on, split it 2 ways. People listening to this are like, oh, I know those secrets. Like I know how to maximize my dollars at a fast food restaurant or whatever. So there was no doubt about it when times were super short. So I guess growing up that way or whatever, and money being, I want to be self-aware. Obviously, money is important and something that I value and something that our family values and something that we're blessed where we are now. But I could say in full integrity that it's just not at the top of my list as a motivator. So once I didn't hesitate to order guacamole, from there, I feel like I've been living in house money. Like I feel like I've, as soon as we reached that escape velocity, I'm like Macaulay Culkin in the limo in New York with the giant pizza saying, this is the height of luxury. In Home Alone. Like that is, anything that we're experiencing. So my answer to the question is these days, at this exact moment, like a 1-hour coaching session with me is $4,000. And a day is like 24,000. It's not even a discount. It's like whatever 8 hours is. And we've had multiple people hire me either for a half day or a day or 1 hour. And that's still weird. It's also, I think, speaks to money mindsets and beliefs that we have to grow and evolve, because now, and this, I know this, I'm aware this could rub some listeners the wrong way, because it could sound entitled. I mean, it could sound however you want it. Do you think it is? It could sound, it just is something that sometimes we can't relate to. And by the way, I'm with you. I think it's weird, just as weird as you think it is. But actually, where it's really helpful is to have objective third parties like Jordan Perez, my executive assistant, guarding and protecting my time. Because one of the ways I think about the reason we charge those numbers is a supply and demand situation, is a calculation of company revenue and how much, as the CEO, I'm very aware it's a collective effort that builds that top line revenue. But nevertheless, if I'm at the helm, then that number is attributed to me. And so Dan Kennedy wrote in a book on the ruthless management of people and profits that you should write down how much your time is worth per hour. One exercise the listener could do is do that and what you wish your time was worth per hour, or stretch it so you grow into it. The other way to do it is just do the math off of like what your company is making net profit, factor it by 40 hours a week for 50 weeks a year. Some people would tell you to cut that down because there's no way you could be perfectly productive for that entire time. So they even say cut that number in half. Say what net profit is, calculate that according to the hour. Here's the bottom line. Those numbers are supply and demand numbers to do coaching. And so, yeah, I still think it's incredibly weird to get paid, $4,000 for an hour of my time. But what I also have to learn is that I still am tempted. You hear me? Oh yeah, I want to give free coaching. I want to, just book that on my calendar. I'd love to help that person. I would love to give. And there's a lot of that we do sometimes with churches and ministries, ministers on YouTube and different things where we're in a blessed position to give free coaching or to give consulting in certain situations or a discount. But anyways, I'm still sticker shocked by kind of all of the above. I think that's a good thing. I want to stay humble and grounded. I think there's also a tension where I have to elevate my thinking and my mindset. And this was maybe the point I was trying to make, because yes, the money is Sonia and I's as the co-founder of the company, that we could technically do whatever we want. Speaking of like net profit of company revenue. But the way I view it is it's ultimately God's money. And I ultimately view it as God's company. And so I try to have a stewardship perspective. Therefore, we're not solving for how much money can we take out of the company and just try to like spend in this or that way. We're trying to solve for how do we further the mission, further the purpose? How do we grow? How do we be faithful? How do we be smart like Joseph in 7 years of abundance to prepare for 7 years of famine? So I don't want to have sticker shock. Maybe that's the point. I want to I want to stay humble, but elevate my mindset and my perspective to the level of value that we're producing to the marketplace, because I think it's also upward from here. And that is a personal growth conversation, a mindset development conversation, a money mindset and beliefs evolution that I think is super important. And that's been part of the journey that I'm on.
Hey, in just a second, we're going to get back into the episode. But if you haven't heard, for a limited time, you can get on-demand access to my YouTube strategy class entirely for free at thinkmasterclass.com. On the class, you're going to learn the one strategy that we use at Think Media that is currently generating over 300,000 views every single day. If you are new to YouTube, this is going to help you start right and avoid mistakes. And if you're already a pro, this is going to help you multiply your growth. And the cool thing is the class is 100% free and you can watch it instantly on demand. All you got to do is go to thinkmasterclass.com or just click the link in the show notes to get instant access. All right, let's jump back into the episode.
Have you ever faced a situation with a lucrative brand opportunity or business opportunity that conflicted with your personal moral boundaries?
One time, and this was, early on with coaching, when my coaching was more affordable and you could just hire me for one-on-one coaching for an hour or two, I was also trying to set up filtering systems. And this is when you don't necessarily have a lot of staff. At one point, now the director of our Think Media channel, Kyle Anderson, who's like the executive producer over the entire channel. We're in Anderson Studios right now. Absolute legend, running a team of like 7, 8, 9, 10 people. All-time creative. Like, we're just thinking about like this very studio, which he designed. He's an artist. He's a creative. He's got vinyl records playing behind us on breaks. Like, you could tell he's a real hipster. So ultimately, when he started Think Media, he was our administrative customer service representative, which number one is not a skill set, but number two, it's not a skill set. And also it's funny because, and I just remember too, I was like, bro, you got skills. And I think he's working at a warehouse folding clothes or something at the time. I was like, I don't know what it is, but you got to come to think and help us build. And again, and grateful, because that's part of the journey. It started.
Copilot, make a quiz for my astronomy notes.
You got it. What type of galaxy is Andromeda?
Spiral.
What does a spectrometer measure?
Light.
And when was your essay due?
There's only one way to smash your goals while smashing nacho cheese chips. Cheating! Woo!
Cheat on chips with chips. Big on protein, low on sugar, huge on flavor. It's basically cheating.
SE started in one area, and he's probably worn like every hat in every department. Well, what's the point? The point is that our admin, our systems, our filtration systems over the years haven't been the best. And for example, I remember I did coaching with this one person who was kind of like in pickup artist and seduction type of things, it was kind of like polygamy. It was kind of like, how do you like essentially trick multiple women to date you and marry you and have control over women and sex and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, this was a dark dude. And it was actually like his assistant or something. And I found myself in that moment. This is one of those moments as a Christian business owner, thinking through things where I'm like, okay, this person hired me for coaching. I'm in it now. They're like, here's my channel. I'm opening up the channel. And I'm like, oh, here we are. But I'm thinking, and in hindsight's 2020, I don't know, what should I have done? Canceled it, been like, you know what? Let's refund your money in that moment. And so all I did was I followed through on the coaching session and then passed it along to whoever was helping us with admin. It was like, we need a better filtration system because that is not something I can endorse or get behind. There's one thing about giving free content away that anybody can watch. And I think for the Christian, I think that is okay. I mean, consider that the Bible is freely readable by everybody and people have manipulated or twisted it. So there's something about giving good information, putting it out in the world. There's a whole nother thing about accepting clientele that is not even a gray area, but is absolutely counter to your belief system and your values. So that was one I remember that I wouldn't do again. And we've done our best to try to be thoughtful. And I also think one of the reasons I heard my friend Neil Dingra say this, he tweeted on Threads, which was a weird statement because he actually threaded on Threads and it's not Twitter anymore. And so as I digress, and he said, the reason you need to make a lot of money is not so that you can buy whatever you want. The reason you need to make a lot of money is so that you cannot be bought. Woo! Come on, Neil. And so early on, when we're fighting for survival, the temptation could be to, if you will, take whatever coaching client or do whatever. What is nice is being at a place where you can refuse business. Now, I would argue for anybody at any level, you can refuse business at any level. And I would go, you could go like the optimistic, kind of like charismatic Christian perspective that would say, and God will bless you. If you turn down business for your integrity and your ethics, you're going to be blessed double as a result. Yeah, maybe. Or you might just be persecuted even more and your business could fail. Like, I mean, ultimately, but the challenge is, are you going to stand hard and fast on your conviction? That's a big one that I would lean on. And then, I mean, another one to unpack, which is, I think is a good moral conflict that we've talked deeply about in our company, as we've tried to develop brand deals and a brand deals team that is focused on sales, meaning get a brand deal that'll pay us money because that's how we pay the bills, which is all great and ethical because that is business-wise important. But then you also have the creator, which as we've grown, is Nolan and Omar and others that have been the ones actually creating the content. But then you also have what should be supersede all, which would be your values and beliefs and convictions of what brands are you endorsing, but also would be an absolute commitment to integrity, truth, and giving the best answers, results, software, and tools to the end user. So of course, I might have an opinion and I could be right or wrong. And so people can watch or follow my opinion about a camera. Of course, there's many nuances in the middle, but true integrity, I think, looks like, being true to yourself, endorsing things you only believe in, and then serving the end user most of all. Always trying to think about what's in the audience's best interest, and only getting behind products that you believe for them. There's been some of the conflict we've had, which I would argue I have tried to be, or I think I have been hard and fast on this. And we've had some internal conflict. We've had some staff transitions since then. Not that was like the whole issue, but that was some of the debates that would come up around the brand deal table, if you will, is I would just be like, okay, that's cool. They want to give us money, but that's not software we believe in. Oh, that's cool. They want to give us money, but that's like not what we're actually using. We then started to learn and make a scoring system where it's one thing to do an ad read versus a dedicated video. It's one thing where you fully endorsing it. But I think that these kinds of things are very important. We did a couple episodes on the podcast a while back about Bible verses every content creator should know. And the Bible is really clear about this. And I think being trustworthy, having integrity. And then there was one big one where at a really macro software in the creator economy, there's two big competitors and one has tried to work with us. And who knows, maybe someday we'll work with. Our ethic has always been, I've always talked to Kyle and Nolan and Omar, I've sat down and I've said, listen, things can change. Software could change. There could be improvements. There could be updates. Things could change. We need to always do our due diligence and our research to ask, what is the best solution? What is the best software? And there's no blanket answer like that. What is the best software for beginners or the best budget software, or all things considered, if this is the intent? We try to pride ourselves on really getting that information. I used a recent AI software. Maybe I went above and beyond. Maybe it's just my personality. I had to use it for like an entire day before I could make the video. I didn't want to just shallowly describe what it was. I wanted to really get a feel for it, knowing what it is, so I can make an accurate video, truly representing it before I promoted it. So I think that this has been a continuous thing that we wrestle with, but I hope that we're landing on the side of integrity, and I want to always never want to go for short-term money over the long-term brand, and ultimately serving the end user with as much integrity and trustworthiness as we can.
Have you ever put out a video that you truly regretted posting?
Have I ever put out a video I truly regretted posting? This video probably is still out. It's kind of funny, and it's about the human charger. Evan, who's to intern for us, the story, like, he loves it. He just thinks it's hilarious, because this was in the era when there was a company called FameBit, which was a marketplace for brand deals. So you signed up, you connected your channel, and then it just allowed you to scan a page, lifestyle, tech, electronic, pets, scan a page, find deals you could be interested in, and then fill it out. Name, channel, and it would tell you right up front, we'll pay you $300, $500, $1,000 if you get accepted. So you could apply for like 5 or 10 of these, and maybe you'd get 2 or 3. And then once you're approved, I guess I didn't already have the product. So once you're approved, you're now, the train has left the station. Like, you're approved and contractually kind of doing this brand deal at that point. So, okay. So I find this thing called the human charger. I think that since then it's gone out of business. It looked like a little iPod, and it had a little circle on it. And what it did is it had 2 little things that looked like earbuds, like Apple, wired in-ears. But what they were was just these cables that led up to the earbuds, which actually projected light into your brain. So the human charger was a device designed to help you overcome jet lag. And because apparently your ear cavities can see the light, and that actually your circadian rhythms do operate by going out. They say go outside in the morning, get the sunlight in your actual eyes, not your ears. So I saw this thing, and they had some like science and some articles about it or some whatever. And I kind of was like, all right, I signed up. They approved me. I did go on a trip because, like I said, I very valued actually case studying and field testing the product. So I went with my friend John Mediana we got hired on a freelance video project in Sandton, South Africa. Flew to London, flew to South Africa, brought my human charger with me. I was using it multiple times along the way. And here's the thing. It might have been a placebo effect. I'm open-minded. My ears are open to the light, and it might have been a placebo effect. It might have been total pseudoscience. By the way, the video was still public. Like, I feel okay enough about it. And I'm already, like, this was me being true to me. I am a psycho biohacker. I do a lot of weird pills and suppositories and potions and red light therapy and all kinds of stuff. My wife makes fun of me for it. You are worried about my kidneys. I was like, I think it's really painful when I pee, but there's like no blood. I did take like an excessive amount of supplements yesterday, and you're like, that's really hard on your kidneys. And so I'm already like a human charger type of a person. Like, I would be that guy. So anyways, I made a video. I described what it was. I described the articles that they had, and I described my experience. I was like, this was a grueling trip. And when we got off, I did it. I'm landing it. And that's the thing. You don't have access to light like that. Supposedly that is vitamin D or whatever wavelength when it's the middle of the night and you're jet lagged. So your human charger is there for you to inject your ears with light at any time you want. So I put the video out. Man, the comments are like, sure. This is the ultimate snake oil for the snake oil salesman. Like, what are you talking about? And then various debate. I mean, probably some smart people would be like, there is zero scientific. I mean, this product sure went through a lot. It went all the way. It was an actual product. I don't know if they're still out there. Who knows? Maybe the founders will see this video. I'm still neutral on it, but all I know is that the difference between making that video or not making that video should not be at like the top of the list of like even the 100 priority videos I should cover. I think an interesting principle is we encourage people on topic all the time. Like, sure, you could do this or that topic, but are you actually making videos about the best topics? So what are the top 10 videos I should cover, the top 20, the top 30, maybe even the top 250 videos I should make next? Human Charger, by the way, I think it's on Think Media. What does that even, I mean, it's like I sometimes veered a little bit. It's not a camera. It's not tech related. It was tech, but it's like, hey, for the traveling content creator, maybe you want to inject light into your ears. So I could have probably passed on that one. And it speaks to, early on, lobbing out 10 FameBit applications, getting approved for it. And then in hindsight, thinking back and being, okay, let me be more selective, more thoughtful, and hopefully build more authority and brand and the opportunity to be selective of brand deals. That's a whole nother side note is personal opinion. I think media, we help people with brand deals. We help people with Patreon. We help people with channel memberships. There's so many different things. But my personal opinion, I didn't just want to create an online course because I really believe in the methodology of online courses changed my life. They help me learn things, help me build wealth, help me build a business. I continue to invest in education products. So I believed in the product itself as an actual user. But the other reason I wanted to create a product, whether it's an online course or something else, is to be free from situations like that. That was one of the situations, just to be at a place, don't make so much money so you can buy whatever you want, make enough money so you can't be bought, so that actually you can turn down brand deals, turn down coaching. And by creating a product of your own that you can sell and creating enough margin and, if you will, wealth, you create enough protection that, yes, then when you engage in brand deals, and I feel like that's where we are now. They are a big part of our business. We are investing a lot in them. But we want to be stable enough that that's not the only thing we're relying on, so that ultimately we could be bought. Because like, oh my gosh, if we don't get a deal this month and there's only one deal to choose from, then we're not going to be able to make payroll. All right, I guess it's the Human Charger. It's kind of a gray area. Maybe it's really clear to some people, but like being able to turn down different deals. So that's one of them. It's kind of a funny story. And the jury is still out. We'll see about comments on this video version of this. Any scientists know, can you actually inject light into your ears to counteract jet lag?
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
Need to know. Well, Sean, I have so many more questions I'd love to ask you, but we're going to wrap up this interview for today. If you want to see more content like this, then make sure you like, subscribe, share this video out with people who would also enjoy watching it. And you can actually join Sean and I on a web class tonight. It's just a free class that we do to teach YouTube strategy. And that's where you're going to really get to go a lot deeper in YouTube strategy than we get to do in even these videos. And so we'd love to see you on that class tonight, or wherever you are in your time zone. You can just head to the link that's in the description right now, thinkmasterclass.com, and see us over on that class so we can hang out, and maybe we'll get delirious Sean on that web class and you'll get to actually get to laugh with us as well. We'll see you over there.
Attention super markup shoppers, just a heads up. These loyalty cards with exclusive deals, it's a sham. At Aldi, you don't need one. You just walk in and save. That's why they're number one in everyday low prices. It's an Aldi thing.
Indulge in a world of refined luxury.
The US economy is going to melt down in 2024.
If you're an employee, it's going to be disaster. Between technology changing, wiping out jobs, more performance-based pay, things are just changing dramatically. Now take the other side, the entrepreneur side. Guess what? It doesn't matter. The educational system is like an employee farm. We grow employees in the educational system that'll fit into somebody else's entrepreneurial dream. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not building your brand, you can divide what your expected income should be by 5.
So how can we survive and thrive during the coming economic crisis as entrepreneurs, as content creators, and as business builders? What are the habits, the mindsets necessary for winning in every environment? And what are the specific business and branding advice tips from a millionaire that we can all apply, whether we're just starting or wanting to grow? Well, in this episode of the Think Media podcast, I am joined by the legendary Eric Worre. In fact, I asked ChatGPT to write an introduction about him, and I'll read it word for word. And it says this: today, we are honored to host a legend in the world of network marketing. He's inspired millions with his game-changing strategies, coached countless individuals on their journey to entrepreneurial success, and penned the bestseller GoPro. Deep dive with us into the insights and wisdom of the incomparable Eric Worre.
Wow. ChatGPT is pretty good.
It's pretty good. Welcome to the show, Eric. Thanks so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad to do it.
So I'm fired up to really go through layers of content. Towards the second half of the show, we'll be talking about should network marketers use YouTube and video, and maybe how could those listening to this that are looking for a better way of monetizing, they could maybe tap into that opportunity. But I want to start with the economy. And there's actually one of my favorite creators called Clear Value Tax. He made a video summarizing a lot of data. The U.S. economy is going to melt down in 2024. So right now, economists are divided. About 50% believe that in the next 12 months, there's going to be a recession. 50% believe it'll be avoided. Polls indicate that 69% of U.S. consumers expect a recession in 12 months, and 84% of CEOs believe that's going to happen. And some people think there's positive indicators because GDP is growing, but when you look at rising interest rates, real estate market, when you look at the long pause the Federal Reserve is going to do, maybe raise, and student loan payments that just kicked in, as well as the dollar not going as far, the economy is a major question mark. And you've been in the game a long time. I value your perspective. I'm just curious, what's your mindset? How are you approaching this? What are maybe some of your predictions? Maybe regardless of what happens, what are you personally doing in response to the environment we're going into?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it is because it matters, are you an employee or are you an entrepreneur? So which assumption would you like me to take?
Well, I'd like you to maybe hit both of them because, tell us the two scenarios.
If you're an employee, it's going to be disaster. Between technology changing, wiping out jobs, more performance-based pay, not wages anymore. More and more companies are going to pay only for performance, not just salespeople, but everybody. You're not going to be able to hide inside of corporate structures. There's all kinds of things happening inside of commercial real estate, everything else. All across that landscape, things are just changing dramatically. One of the things the pandemic did is it shrunk maybe a 10-year transition window into 3 years. Our habits have changed. You take a look at what happened to movie theaters as an example. It used to be a regular, normal thing. Now, when was the last time you went to a movie theater to actually see a movie? It's got to be something special, and there isn't that much special that your big screen TV, or maybe you upgraded that TV during the pandemic to be able to watch, is not a close comparable to that experience. So you go to an AMC theater right now, and it's kind of sad. You know, it's like they're trying to, please come back. It's over. It's over. People have changed. Now they're watching things on their tablets and on their laptops and on their desktops and screencasting from their phone up to a screen on their wall. I have a huge screen TV at my house. We don't want to go to the movie theater. We're fine where we are. So just hurry up and release that movie and put it on Amazon Prime or wherever I can watch it, and that's where I'm going to watch it. So the same thing's going to happen across all employee sectors, in my opinion. It's going to get squeezed, downsizing, unemployment's going to go up, lots of challenges. Now take the other side, the entrepreneur side. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Economic boom or bust, it doesn't matter. It never has for an entrepreneur. People, every election cycle, people like this one, if the other guy gets in, it's the end of the world, for sure. That's been said every election for my entire lifetime. And for some employees, maybe that's true, but for entrepreneurs, it never is, because entrepreneurs adapt. And entrepreneurs look at every obstacle as an opportunity. And entrepreneurs actually, in the face of recession, that's where most success stories are created, is entrepreneurs step in during those periods of time, go back and reverse engineer all the big companies that you can think of and find out when they started. You're going to find them starting in pretty difficult times. So entrepreneurs look for opportunity when other people are frozen in fear. They adapt and they pivot while other people are slow to change. I'll tell you this, I think the next 18 months to 3 years is going to be a tale of two cities, literally. For some, it's going to be the best of times. They're going to find opportunity, pivot, adapt, adjust, innovate. And for some, it's going to be the worst of times. It's going to be disaster. They're going to have lots of stuff that they can blame it on. They're going to blame it on whoever got in the White House. They're going to blame it on global economics. They'll blame it on the Fed, blame it on interest rates, blame it on debt. They blame it on a million things. But entrepreneurs just say, that's fine. You guys stay over there all confused and blaming each other. I'm going to go innovate over here, and I'll create a better business out of it. So I've always kind of grinned at the, what are you going to do? I'm going to adapt. That's what I'm going to do. If the Republicans get in, I'll adapt. If Democrats get in, it's not the end of the world. I'll adapt. And that's what I've been doing my whole life.
There's probably two types of people listening to this. One group got super fired up. They already have the entrepreneur mentality. They maybe were looking ahead with some trepidation, but you just lit that fire again. It's like, that's right. It's the tale of two cities, and I know which camp I'm going to be in. There's others, though, that, we speak to YouTube creators, content creators, people stepping in the creator economy, business owners that are trying to get more leads and clients and sales with content. And then maybe a third group of those that are looking for a side hustle, those that are full-time right now. You're like, employees are going to get squeezed. You got to be thinking about creating extra streams of revenue. What do you think it takes to make that transition? Maybe be clearer. There are those who say, okay, well, it's going to be good for entrepreneurs, but I'm not an entrepreneur. Is there an opportunity for anybody to become one?
Sure. But it takes a bit of reprogramming your mind. One of my mentors, his name is Sam Georges. He was Tony Robbins' CEO for 22 years. Incredible guy. Retired, lives here in Las Vegas. He says there's two kinds of people. One are coin operated, and the other ones are entrepreneurs. And coin operated, put in a coin, get a result, and they're exchanging their time for money or an effort or a result for money. And entrepreneurs are willing to take bigger risks and do what they need to do. So most people have been trained to think like an employee since they were 2 years old. Do as you're told, or there's going to be consequences. Brush your teeth, there's going to be consequences. Stop hitting your sister, finish your vegetables, go to bed, or there's going to be consequences. And then it repeats in school, study for the test, or there's going to be consequences. You don't pass this grade, there's going to be consequences. That gets built in. Don't be tardy too many days, or there's going to be consequences. You get detention, whatever. You get written up in your permanent record, which I've never seen, by the way. They threatened it so many times when I went to school. And then when you get out of school, you get a job. And in that job, you are consequence driven as well. Show up on time and there's consequences. Here's how long lunches, there's consequences. Make sure you perform good enough, or there's going to be consequences. There could be rewards too. So we've been trained to think like employees, and it's exactly opposite of how entrepreneurs think. So employees, when I speak around the world and I ask people, what comes to mind when I say the word work? And guess what I get? Pain, obligation, traffic, drudgery, uncomfortable, obligation. That's the list.
Yeah.
And because of that, and because they've been trained as an employee to work so they can rest, the rest is the objective. The retirement is the objective. The weekend is the objective, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get away from all this stuff is the objective. So entrepreneurs look at work completely different. Work is passion, work is creation, work is purpose, work is mission, work is contribution. So why would you want to get away from that?
Yep.
So the employee-minded people think the entrepreneurs are crazy people because they rest just long enough to work, while the employees are working just long enough to rest. So most entrepreneurs can't even fathom. I can't even fathom retirement.
Sure.
I can fathom lifestyle, doing it my way, but I can't fathom like wanting to get away from this. So that's just one example. There's a million that I could give you. Entrepreneurs think on one side of the coin and employees think on the other side of the coin. So whether it's work or investment or sacrifice or time, an employee, for example, is willing to give you about 2 weeks. And if within 2 weeks you don't get paid, they're gone.
Yeah.
But an entrepreneur is willing to be underpaid for a long period of time,
Yes.
fairly paid for a very short period of time, and then overpaid for a long period of time. They're willing to trade under for over. And that's different, right? Than what people, that this is unfair. You're taking advantage of me. I'm putting in all this work. I'm not getting any results. Or you're working for yourself. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? I'm getting paid $1 an hour for the amount of time that I'm putting into growing my YouTube channel or growing my business. This is dumb. This doesn't even make any sense. But you got to put in that price, and you're willing to invest your time. Where employees are like, nope, if I don't get a certain amount per hour, not doing it. Same thing with the support. Entrepreneurs create support. Everybody else is looking for support. They create their own support. And I could go on and on and on, but you really have to learn how to think like an entrepreneur. And you can reprogram your mind, because I think we were all born with creation and contribution and mission and passion and all of that stuff in us. And it was beaten into us, programmed into us to do as we're told, or there's going to be consequences. That's the difference.
Were you born into an entrepreneur family?
A little. I was born a little bit into an entrepreneurial family. Well, that's not true. I would say scrappy.
Yeah.
Scrappy, figure it out type of a family.
What did your parents do?
When I was growing up, my dad sold insurance. Mom took care of the house.
Insurance has some scale dynamics to it.
A little bit, yeah. Sold some insurance. We lived in Detroit. And then my dad became a Christian. He decided, my uncle had started a church in Minnesota. So my dad packed up the family, quit insurance in his early 30s, drove us all over to Minnesota to start like a church camp for the big church. So scrappy, figuring it out. Never had any money, budget, whatever, didn't matter. Was able to kind of put a little church camp together. Salvation Army runs that church camp today.
Yeah.
But, and my dad never took a salary from the church. He worked for the church, but he never took a salary. And he always just bought and sold cars and, was scrappy little ways to make money, make enough to make ends meet. So we never went hungry, but we never really kind of had the cool stuff. So growing up, I wanted to have the cool stuff,
So then how did you reprogram your mind?
It took a bit. I look at my mind as a computer, and I had some mental viruses in my mind. 3 of them in particular. One, I was a professional blamer. Nothing was ever my fault. And I was good. I could convince the teacher that the dog ate the homework. I could figure out a way that it was never my fault. I could move blame around. And that was okay. You kind of get out of doing extra work or doing things, whatever, when you're growing up, versus taking responsibility, right? I almost never took responsibility directly. I was a blamer. Second is I wanted people to pay me more first, and then I'd work harder. Give me a little bit more money and I'll work harder. One of my first jobs is I worked at this little boat dock company that rented fishing boats to people in the lakes in Minnesota. And I was making this certain amount of money, and this guy who was like 2 years older than me was making, almost double the amount of money. Not a lot, but double the amount. And I said, I asked the boss one day, I said, how can I make that kind of money? And he said, well, which is a good question, by the way, if you work for somebody, what would need to happen? He said, well, he's been here for a while and he does this and this and this and this and this and this and this. I said, are you telling me that if I do those things that I can make that money? He said, yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Next day, I'm there early. I'm picking up gum wrappers out of the parking lot. I ran. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was watching me around and like, what happened to this kid? I'm getting these looks like from employees, you're making us look bad. And from the boss, he's like, I'm getting these approval nods from the boss. And I killed it that day. The docks were gleaming and the boats were shiny, and it was because of me. So at the end of the day, I'm so proud. I go to the boss. I said, well, did it.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. And he said, son, look, it was a good day and we were all impressed. But it was just one day. You got to show me that you can do that day in and day out, because this is the first time I've ever seen it. Mm. And I went, he's just going to try and take advantage of me. Mm. So no, if you give me the raise, you can see what I'll do. But since you're not going to, then I'm going to work up to that level, and that's all you're going to get.
Then you lowered your performance, which is visibly, like, intentionally lower.
Yep. Yeah. I'm only going to do what you pay me for. It's kind of a, I don't want to make anybody mad, but kind of a union mentality. Sure. Within the policies, procedures kind of thing. So I went back, and I repeated that in every job. Mm-hmm. I had 18 jobs by the time I was 23. For real.
Wow.
So that's hard to do. You think about that. You do a job, go to work, get fired, or quit, and do that 18 times. So that was my second big virus. It was pay me first, and then I'll work harder. And the third thing was, I'm not sure where this came from, but I'd rather get away with something in it than earn it. I'd rather talk my way into a situation. I'd rather sneak into the drive-in movie than pay for a ticket. I'd rather, if you found something mislabeled at a store and you could get it for a better price, it was so exciting. I'd rather find a little corner to cut.
Sure.
Instead of just earn it. Mm-hmm. Right? So I get involved in my early 20s in direct sales, network marketing. And for the first time, all three of those things are punished. All three of those viruses in my mind are punished, like smashed, because I could blame anybody, but it wasn't going to change my check.
Yep. I
had to take responsibility. My check was an exact reflection of the value that I was bringing in to the penny, so I couldn't ask for more money unless I was providing more production. It's purely performance-based.
Yeah.
And third, I learned that getting away with something, trying to get lucky, be in the right place at the right time, you got to always be in the right place at the right time. It's so much easier to just be excellent. So I would say it probably took me 3 years after I was 22 before I was able to rewire my brain and go, this is not serving me. I need to go over here. And, a lot of plan, do, review, a lot of trial and error to get there.
How important has books, learning, studying, events, investing in yourself been for you since 22?
When I finished high school, I applied to the colleges that my friends applied to, and I got rejected from all of them because I have a 1.8 GPA in high school. And I went to one trimester of community college, Normandale Community College, mostly to play football. Got myself just destroyed playing football. And so I leave formal education and say, you know what? I don't need to read another book the rest of my life. Again, growing up in the church, I'd read a page of the Bible and it put me out. I would just knock me to sleep so fast. So what got me connected to personal development and growth and books and learning was the network marketing space. I got handed a copy of a bootlegged audio cassette from Jim Rohn, which was called The Seed and the Sower. And somebody had just recorded it in the audience and made an audio tape of it. And it was from a Shackley convention. And I listened to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. He's talking about me. And I'm like, I got this vision that I could maybe make something of my life. And what I found it in the profession of network marketing specifically, you can take one idea and make money the next day. One tiny little thing, you take that into the post office and take that idea, you're not going to make money the next day. You're in a structure.
Yeah, the structure of your job is limiting you because you are just painting by numbers there, but you have total creativity. And
So in that talk, he said, for things to change, I had to change. For things to get better, I had to get better. And that's what his mentor told him. And I'm like, number one, that makes sense for me. I've got to change. Yeah. But number two, when I'm talking to prospects, I'm going to use that. So the next day, literally the next day, somebody says, I'm not sure, I got to, this might not be a good time for me. And I said, look, let me tell you what one of my mentors told me. He told me just yesterday, for things to change, you got to change. And for things to get better, you got to get better. He said, you know what? You're right. Let's do this. And he signs up. And I'm like, this is like a magic trick. I got to find some more of these phrases.
Yeah.
And in his talks, then I bought everything Jim Rohn had. In his talks, he said, start reading. Leaders are readers. Start reading 10 pages of a good book a day. He gave a few recommendations, and I did. I kind of went back and forth between fiction and nonfiction because I can get a little overdone with nonfiction sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I need some stories. I need some drama. I need to figure out some people. So I started reading 10 pages and I developed that new muscle. And I know today everybody's like, no, I like audiobooks. There's a different part of your brain that engages with that. And I became hungry in growing myself and improving myself, me being the asset as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And that's what most entrepreneurs don't realize. It's not your product. It's not your platform. It's you. If you grow you a little bit at a time, compound it, and learn how to, I would say, books, audio, those were the start for me. And then events, seminars. But the absolute cheat code to accelerate your growth, coaches, mentors, masterminds. That's literally like a time machine.
Yes.
You step into that environment and you come out 3 years smarter without being 3 years older. It's the most amazing thing. And if people did not hear anything, find a coach, find somebody who has the knowledge that you have, and you don't have to go through their pain in order to be able to get it. Give them the dollars, save the time. We only have so much time. So that was the big breakthrough, coaches, mentors, and masterminds. Some of that was built into the network marketing community. Others I found. But huge breakthrough for me. And I will tell you, I think I've read more than anybody I know since then. A lot of books.
So going into 2024, in light of whatever's on the horizon, for someone who's either just starting on their journey, maybe more mid on their journey, or even more advanced, but they are committed to lifelong learning, what are some classics and maybe some current books that you think would be good for reprogramming your mind to absolutely be a part of the city that wins, of the group of people that adapts and innovates and is creative in these next 12 to 24 months?
I would say it kind of doesn't matter where you start. It just matters that you start. Mm-hmm. Find something that is interesting for you. You read Outliers from Malcolm Gladwell, and the only thing anybody remembers from that book is 10,000 hours.
Right.
But that's enough.
Sure.
That's enough. It's worth the $20.
Yeah.
For 10,000, I have to do 10,000 hours of something before I consider myself being any good. I watched an interview with Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, a couple days ago, and he was just saying, go make 100 videos.
Yeah.
And after you make 100 videos, then let's look back and figure out how we're going to do something better.
Yep.
It's the same kind of principle, right?
Yep.
So you're going to find good ideas all over the place. Find the most recommended entrepreneurial books on Amazon. It's different personalities for different people. You can go find Atomic Habits over here. You can go find Strengths Finders 2.0 over there. If you want to become a better leader, find a great leadership book over here. If you got to get your mindset right, grab something from Goggins or grab something from Rohn or whatever. Find something that my biggest encouragement is just find something that resonates with you, lean in, and then you can challenge your mind to expand beyond what you already agree with.
Yeah.
And find new things that'll challenge you to be able to kind of explore other parts of your personality or weak spots in your business. Like Strengths Finders as an example. Have you ever read Strengths Finders 2.0?
I've taken the test. I've never read the book. It's on my shelf.
It's so good. And the test lets you know where your strengths are. And the thesis of the book is successful people lean into their strengths and they manage their weaknesses. And everybody else tries to strengthen all of their weaknesses.
Right.
And let go of that.
Yeah.
Let somebody else do that stuff.
Yes.
Just lean in to the strengths piece. And that idea is so big because it just was, as soon as I got that, I was like, I can do the stuff that I enjoy doing, even though a lot of it's hard work. And I can manage, have somebody else help me with the rest. I'm in. So the personal development greats are always good. Find who resonates with you, find something. And once you find one, it'll lead you to the next.
Yes.
It'll recommend the next. It'll lead you to the next. You'll talk with people about the book that you read and they'll give you some suggestions and it'll go from there.
So, we got to get to content in like the part 3,
Sure.
and we'll talk about that. I actually do want to talk a little bit about your book because you're a massively best-selling author with your book.
I'm
GoPro.
embarrassed. I have one book that sold 5 million copies, and I have 6 books in my head, and
Yeah.
I'm such a procrastinator. I got so much going on that I have not taken the time to get the other 6 out of my head. I like to say I'm an author,
Yes.
but I'm not a writer.
Did you find that for people listening to this, that getting what you know into a book, do you believe that's still powerful today?
100%.
What are the results of, it's wild too, 5 million copies is crazy, but your book GoPro, 7 Steps to Becoming a Network Marketing Professional, what did that do for you?
Well, first of all, when you self-publish and you make $5 a book,
You make a lot more than instead of 50 cents. Yeah.
Second, you don't need publishers today. You can go direct to your consumer if you build your audience. Right? Provide value to your community. You know who you're writing for, what you're doing with it. But it did so much. I can't even, my speaking fees went through the roof because people wanted to bring the guy who wrote GoPro. Everybody in my particular profession knows the book, has bought the book. There's probably 20 million copies that have been ripped off in every language around the world. Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
The reputation, the brand, opportunities, the conversations, it could open up pretty much any door. It became kind of this little calling card, like Rich Dad Poor Dad was for Robert Kiyosaki, or the 22 Immutable Laws of Leadership for John Maxwell. Those types of things.
Yes.
That's what it became kind of a centerpiece. And you'll find because it was called GoPro, a lot of our stuff is kind of GoPro this and GoPro that and GoPro the other thing. Like we have a GoPro experience event that we do once a year, a big event. That we broadcast around the world. So I was fooled by a billionaire. The billionaire said, don't ever put your knowledge in a book and sell it for $20 when you can put it in a course and sell it for $1,000. Don't ever do it. It's the biggest mistake. And I believed him for 15 years. And I went, you know what? I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to admit it. But I'm doing it because it's. I have to get it out. I have to write this down. There's a need for it. So I wrote it, and I was like, man, he was so wrong. He was so wrong. The opportunities and doors, and there's always room for. You can give everything away in a book, and then still have a course. You can still have an event.
Totally.
You can still improve and enhance on that. But he was very, very wrong.
Sure. Yeah, I think people are constantly asking, what do I give away free? What do I sell? If I put it all in a book? I think I heard Russell Brunson talk about that like everything that's in Traffic Secrets or Expert Secrets would also then be in a course, but the course is a different format, video, teaching. And then it would also be in like a 2-day event, but that's also a different format experience. And then it would also be in the mastermind, but you don't have the personalization where the person knows you and everybody else there. So I think people are afraid, right, of giving away too much when actually, it's biblical, like give and you shall receive, pressed down, flowing over in abundance, like more than you could ever imagine. And that is interesting. That kind of leads to building a personal brand. And I want to talk about your content strategy, and then we'll talk about how network marketing can apply to all this and how network marketers could do all the above. But if we go really macro, this idea of personal branding, when did that term hit your radar? Were you doing it on accident before it became a pop culture term in entrepreneurship? Or have you been intentionally trying to build your personal brand for how long?
It's interesting how it all came about, because when you're successful in the network marketing space, which I was in the field, growing large teams, I had 500,000 people on my team, 63 countries around the world. So you're kind of a little bit branded in that experience, how you show up and, your presence, your leader, your team identity and your culture and all that, it becomes a bit branded, but not necessarily to the world or to the other companies within your space. So 2008, I'm checking out social media, and Facebook has come out. It's really, it was for college students to start, and they're starting to expand it to like high school students and stuff. And I'm hearing about this, and I'm going, this looks like something, because this is back in the times of MySpace. And people had their theme song on their MySpace channel and stuff. So I asked around, who knows somebody that really knows this, online space? Names popping up all over the place. And one consistent theme was Gary Vaynerchuk. So I'm like, oh, okay. I checked this guy out, and he's doing this really low quality wine tasting. This young kid from New Jersey sitting in his dad's wine store, tasting wine, talking about the New York Jets, and ranting occasionally about stuff, being nice to people, whatever. And I'm like, and he was getting 80,000 views. He was getting written up in major papers. He was on Jimmy Kimmel or something. I'm like, what is going on? So I called him up. I said, 2 hours of your time can come out and I want to pick your brains. So I paid him $10,000 back in 2008 for 2 hours, which would be a bargain today. Sat down with him and said, just reverse engineer everything that you're doing with wine. I want to do it with network marketing. The idea in my mind, Jim Rohn was just at the last days of his life, and he was a hero for me. If he had a little camera in his pocket, and instead of just audio, there was all of this evidence of his life, and he documented it, it would be a cool gift to give the world. And he couldn't do it, and I was never going to be Jim Rohn, but I could start. I could try. So, I sat down with Gary, and we went through all the stuff, and basically all the stuff he put in to crush it. That first book that he came out with. And I went home. It was February 2009, and my birthday was in March 11th of 2009. I said, I'm just going to start. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no clue. I bought a bunch of camera equipment I never used, a bunch of lights that overheated my house that I never used. I had Final Cut Express that somebody created a little template for me that I could record the video, put it in the middle, and squeeze it together and export it and post it to a blog. And I just started. I just said, I'm going to do kind of mid-form stuff once a day, every day. Not necessarily every day, but about 250 times first year with no agenda. Nothing to buy, nothing to join. It was just, here's ideas, here's things I've learned, here's tips, here's strategies. Occasionally interview a guy and throw that up there in segments. And I would send a little email blast out to whoever I had an email list of. I had a little group on Facebook, which was capped at 5,000. And my kids threw a fit, by the way, because they're like, oh, this is for kids. This is not for adults. You're going to be a creepy old guy on Facebook. You get off of here. So, but I did anyway. They blocked me for a minute, but then they unblocked me.
It's funny.
So I learned this little process. I had all my little cheat sheets. I had no ability to do that, but I can share an idea. So I started March 11, 2009, and found my tribe, found my following, found my voice, and kept sharing. And from that, maybe like the next year, people was like, please, do you have any kind of product, anything? And I made a CD set, an audio CD set, from a live event that I did with a couple hundred people in the room, 8 hours of content, sold like crazy. I'm like, huh. So then I did an event.
And you were shipping it.
Yeah, shipping CDs. I mean,
Yeah.
can you believe it? So then I did an event called GoPro Recruiting Mastery, we called it, at the Monte Carlo here in Las Vegas. 200 people at the event, 3 days. Brought in my personal development friends, and that went from 200 to 400 to 800 to 2,400 to. I mean, the biggest one we did was 68,000.
Yeah.
68,000 people in an event, paid event. So in that period of time, and probably 4 years in, that's when I wrote GoPro, the book. That put everything on turbo fuel. And I've had to pivot a million times along the way, but I never really thought of myself as a brand. I thought of myself more as a teacher, as a friend to this particular tribe, entrepreneurs. You know, it's kind of a lonely journey.
Yep.
Here's some ideas on how you can go do better.
Yep.
And it turned into a big thing for me.
And now today, lately, we've been connecting. You've been doubling down on media.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there was a time when you got too busy, where maybe you weren't as intense as you are now? And what would you say on a scale from 1 to 10, how seriously you're taking media at large? YouTube, you're going all in on YouTube, video podcasting. But on a scale from 1 to 10, how intense are you going now? Did that number change, and why did it change?
Well, I'll give you something that I recently come to believe. If you think you're a big deal, you're comparing yourself to the wrong people. You need, so long as you're the big, I'm doing more than everybody else is doing. So I was comparing myself to people who weren't doing anything on social.
Sure.
I was crushing them. They made 5 videos and quit. I made 250 videos a year. I'm a killer.
Yeah.
But I made so many mistakes. Mistake number 1, Gary recommended I put all my videos on Vidler instead of YouTube for like 3 years. That was the hugest mistake ever.
Yeah.
Second, I thought I was a big shot doing that stuff, doing it all myself. For like 5-6 years, I did every piece of it myself. Shot, recorded, edited, put it out there. Almost never edited much, but I would just go to camera and here's the idea for today. Here's a recommended book, and I'll see you tomorrow. And I'd shoot it out. But looking back, I'm so embarrassed that I didn't just suck all the oxygen out of the space. I should have a YouTube channel 20 times its size right now.
Yeah, it's 400,000 subscribers right now.
And it's ridiculously, embarrassingly terrible.
Yeah.
So a few people made me mad. Alex Hormozy made me mad. Grant Cardone made me mad. Patrick Bet-David made me mad. All these guys are friends. And I'm like, I'm counting the quantity that they're putting out.
Yeah.
While running big businesses. And I'm running a big business. I have all my limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And I'm counting the quantity that I'm putting out. I'm putting out, 25 pieces on Instagram per month or whatever. And I said, enough. So ramped up. I mean, I'm talking the last 4 months, 3 months even.
Yeah.
Re-engaged the podcast. I was getting like 50 to 80,000 downloads a week when I stopped doing it because I just wasn't really aiming it at stuff.
Yeah.
And you can have a little bit of challenge when you have a lot of financial success, where you lose the grittiness of it, because we achieved all our financial goals. We had, lifestyles of the rich and famous, crazy stuff. So I lost a little of the grittiness, and I was comparing myself to the wrong people. So when I found some people who were doing things at scale the way, and I saw the results of that they were getting, I went, okay, I have to have better systems. I have to have better team. I have to have different vision, and I have to do scale. What I realized is quantity is the solution to just about every problem. You just have to really ramp up quantity to get the feedback loop so you can improve the quality, right?
Hey, we're about to get back into the podcast in just a second, but I have a question for you. Do you want to grow your personal brand this year? Do you need more leads and sales in your business? If the answer is yes, then right now is the best time to go all in on YouTube. Today's podcast is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com, where you can get on-demand access to a 1-hour deep dive training revealing how to start and grow a profitable YouTube channel this year. For a limited time, you can get access to this on-demand class entirely for free, where you will learn the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when starting a YouTube channel, the new rules and changes that have been happening on YouTube and how you can use them to create an unfair advantage, and the exact strategy we use at Think Media to generate over 350,000 organic views every single day. The data is clear. 70% of viewers claim that YouTube makes them more aware of new brands. So don't wait any longer to start growing your brand and business with YouTube. Just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to this no-fluff, highly tactical, free on-demand training. That's thinkmasterclass.com.
So now it's 300 pieces of content a month on Instagram. It's, in total, probably 700 or 800 pieces across platforms, different types of content. Podcasts up once a week. You were a guest. I have enough recorded to get me for like the next 4 months. So I'm pushing the team to get to 2 a week, and they're freaking out on me because of the number of clips that have to be pulled out of that in order to be able to do it right.
Yep.
So I'd be like, come on, we got to get better systems. We got to go. Because I got a pretty reasonable team now to helping with all that. So podcast is growing. We're top 25, top 30 in business category. So, which I'm happy about that on Apple. And we're working on the Spotify side. I just decided enough. I'm going to go big.
So I've heard Simon Sinek use the term worthy rivals. I've heard, everyone knows the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. However, for the entrepreneur, you said you were comparing yourself to the wrong people.
Yeah.
Comparison's also an opportunity to be challenged to get better.
I mean, some people get really demoralized when they compare.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thought. You compare yourself to somebody that's a thief of joy. I have a very simple philosophy when it comes to comparison, because I use it more than I get discouraged by it.
Sure.
So if it's paralyzing you, then don't compare. Mm-hmm. Compare yourself to you. Be a better version of you tomorrow. If it's not paralyzing you and it's pissing you off, use it.
Use it.
So these other guys pissed me off. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This was so obvious.
Yeah.
That everybody should be a media company. Mm-hmm. Anybody with any chops should be a media company by themselves. And the opportunities will present themselves in a myriad of ways. If you have the chops to do it and you're not doing it, 20 years people are going to look back and laugh at you. Like I look back and laugh at my earlier version of myself throwing those videos on Vidler. You know what I mean? That was dumb, super dumb. So equally dumb is not being a media company today. So sitting down talking with Patrick Bet-David, had him on our podcast. He's speaking at our event. I mean, he's going after it.
Yeah.
He's building a campus to put 2,000 people on a campus just to make content.
Yeah.
He's bringing in big podcasters underneath his umbrella. He's going after it big. He's really he was willing to write Tucker Carlson a $100 million check.
Yeah.
So that's smart. And I'm like, man, I'm thinking too small. I've got to change my thinking.
Yeah, I guess in comparison to, if we were to compare ourselves to a professional athlete, there might be a gap there that we can never cross. But as Simon Sinek talks about worthy rivals, there might be rivals in business that inspire us, challenge us, and help us get the grittiness back. That's where it came from.
For sure.
The grittiness was by actually getting better worthy rivals.
Well, like I said, there's some consequences to success sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's what I call a success coma.
Okay.
Nobody can accuse you of not working. Nobody can accuse you of not being in the game. But you're kind of, taking selfies and signing autographs and kissing babies and going on long vacations. And you're not doing what you did to get you where you were. Mm. If you're honest.
Sure.
And I've been through 2 or 3 or 4 of them. You have a big windfall and you're just like, this is fun. And you don't double down. You don't take that opportunity. So for me, I needed to have examples in front of me. What did he call it? Worthy what?
Worthy rivals.
Worthy rivals. Yeah, I don't view them as rivals, but I think I view them as necessary examples of, please show me how to play big. Mr. Beast, show me, how do you get 100 million views in 5 days?
Yeah.
What do you need to do there? Sean, show me how I can get more views and grow my channel. Patrick, show me, how are you, my team's taken 2 days to turn around a podcast just on color correction and edits and audio quality, and you're doing it live every day, and it looks just fine. It looks great. Show me how you're tightening this system up. How are you picking the clips? Like when we did our podcast, our team picked some clips, and then his team picked some clips, and his clips were a little bit better than our clips. Same content.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, so show me. I need to see it. So sometimes when I can see something to be able to measure against, it's inspiring for me. It's motivating for me.
Yeah.
And recently, like just this last week, Rob Deerdick?
Yeah.
Have you ever had him on?
No, I'd love to actually.
You should. He comes to Vegas regularly.
Yeah. He's a genius. He's kind of psycho too, in a good way.
He is the most systemized person on earth.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the word.
I don't know anybody quite like it, but when you see the result of it, how much balance he has, how much time with his family, how much time on his health, and how much time on his business.
Yeah, he tracks it, tracks the detail, tracks everything.
To the minute.
Yeah.
He films 336 episodes of ridiculousness.
Yes.
Per year. Okay?
In a very short window of time.
Yes. 4% of his time.
It's wild. Every year he got more efficient with it. It's also basically the only show on MTV. Ridiculousness is an
80% of MTV.
It's an incredible case study.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He has $1 billion deal over the next 7 years with that company. Right?
That's wild.
So when we first met, he and I, 8 years ago, he's on his honeymoon with his wife. And my wife and I, we were all in Bora Bora. We met, like a little jet ski excursion. And his wife had read my book, so we made this connection. We connect on the plane. We become good friends. And at the time, we're both worth about the same amount. His net worth is like 15 million. My net worth is like 15 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, his net worth is like 400.
Sure.
While being completely content, happy, balanced, rested, fit, connected with his kids, connected with his wife. Because us entrepreneurs, we'll grind sometimes.
Sure.
We'll just put more on us. We'll just do more and more and more. We'll work 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. He said, no, I'm going to do better with the time. I'm going to be more efficient with the time. So that's my new mission, is to systemize everything tighter. Whatever we could have done in a day, let's see if we can do it in 4 hours. If we can do it in 4 hours, let's see if we can do it in 2. What's a better system for every aspect?
Yeah.
So I kind of balance things out, because I'll slave away if I'm in the grind mode, because I kind of grind for a season, then I support for a season, then I grind for a season, support for a season. My new mission is all about systems.
All about systems. Systems are the secret. Now, should network marketers use YouTube and video?
100%. First of all, network marketers can use YouTube and should. I haven't used it as much as I should. I'm kind of waking my channel up. We talked, 6 months ago, probably for the first time, about that, because I was embarrassed. It was kind of a dumping ground for video. And I was speaking so much around the world and doing different things. It wasn't really intentional. It's just starting to become intentional. So first, to build your brand. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not building your brand, you can divide what your expected income should be by 5. Maybe make 20% of what you should be making. If you build a big brand, you'll attract good talent. You will attract opportunities. People go check you up nowadays. It's like, what's your name? Let me go do a little homework.
Yeah.
Let me go watch a few videos. You don't have any videos? All right, let me go look on LinkedIn. See if you got it over there. All right, fine. You're in Instagram. What's that look like? Facebook. What's that look like? You're gonna go check this stuff out. That's your calling card nowadays. Let me go check out social, see if this person's for real.
Yeah.
If they're a real human being. So 1, to build your brand. 2, to build your reach. 3 it's the easiest way in the world to be able to organically start conversations with everybody. And all business is conversation.
Yep.
So what YouTube will do is start a conversation. You keep the conversation going, then you can pivot it either into your product or into some business or something more meaningful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our conversations, we just keep the conversation going. Opportunities will present themselves. We'll do a lot of business together over the years, for sure. I'm completely aware of it. But wasn't necessarily the agenda.
Right.
The agenda was bring value, have conversations, show each other who we are, what can we do, how can we go grow it. So YouTube, for sure, you're the expert at that. Pick a genre, pick a style, pick something, become known for it.
You know Harbor Freight for affordability, but durability goes right along with it. You see, we test, and then we test again. Now, it's time for you to put us to the test. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Commit to your true passion. Leave a legacy of expertise that will inspire others. This is what we mean by dedicated to everyday excellence.
This week only, get all Domino's menu price pizzas for 50% off when you order online. This is a limited time offer. Order now.
Get ready for Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and Dark Universe. Opens May 22nd at Universal Orlando Resort. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Pick a genre, pick a style, pick something, become known for it. You just don't be boring. You know, that's the ultimate rule, I think, in all of the social stuff is don't be boring. And I'm learning, you know, I'm learning how to anchor the promise in the first 5 seconds. I'm learning how to do, because I'm a teacher. I don't really do that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many things I'm doing to not maximize. But what I'll tell you, if you do enough quantity,
yes,
it won't matter.
Yes.
You'll find your voice. You'll find your hook. You'll find your sense of humor. You'll find, you know, who's the YouTuber podcaster, the real soft-spoken girl who kind of mocks celebrities? Bobby something.
Yeah. Bobby Brown.
No, it's
Bobby
not Bobby Brown.
Altough.
Bobby Altough, yeah. So, and she's just like, you know, you're kind of ugly.
Yeah, kind of deadpan,
you know,
sarcastic,
what are you doing with
dry.
that stupid beard? You know, you're so old.
Yeah.
And just really, really quiet. But it's a style.
Yeah.
So you can find, whether it's hot wings or that or whatever, you can find your own thing, your own voice. At the beginning, I was just copying Jim Rohn mostly.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started 35 years ago, and then you find your own vibe. But it's impossible for it not to give you a multiplied return on the effort.
Yes.
Unless you completely ignore all the opportunities that it'll present from it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So in just a second, I want you to answer the question, how can content creators, maybe someone's listening to this, looking for a business opportunity to monetize in a different way than YouTube ad revenue, than even affiliate marketing and some of these other things, and network marketing, could that be one of those opportunities? But before we get there, you've probably heard it said, network marketing is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
No. It's not, but I understand the image, and here's where the image comes from. Network marketers just can't help but overhype everything. They just can't help it. They say it's, you don't have to sell anything. And, this is the easiest thing you'll ever do in the world. And everybody's winning. And look at how much money this person makes. And look at their car. And look at all this stuff. So it's promise, 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 promise. And all you got to do is put in a little bit of money. And it's just going to be magic beans dropped into the ground, go up to the sky. And you can retire. It's just amazing, unbelievable. And the product, it cures this and it does that. And they overhype, hype like crazy. And because of the hype, it can never live up to that expectation. So people come in with that expectation, kind of going, this sounds too good to be true, but I'll give it a try. And the moment a person normally joins network marketing, they have like 3, 4, 5 people in their head that might join if they do it too. And it's kind of like a lotto ticket. There's like a scratch off. Yeah. So they go scratch those off, and if one of those 5 doesn't join, then they rip it up and they say, you know what, network marketing doesn't work, it's a scam. Here's the truth. It's virtually impossible for you to lose money in network marketing. People, I lost money. Tell me how.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
How much does it cost to start?
Yeah, it depends on the company, but a very small amount, and you can return that to the company and get your money back. So it's just like, you cannot convince me that you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
Can you come in as an amateur, lose relationships if you're just handing out business cards at funerals and doing creepy stuff?
Yeah,
you can do that for sure. But that's why we called it GoPro, the book GoPro. If you're going to do this, be a professional.
Yeah,
like any professional, there's skills, be classy. But here's what network marketing does, just so you understand. And I would also say the scam piece of it. In every profession, there's going to be some people who do it wrong. There's the FTXs in the crypto space.
Yes,
that did it wrong. There's going to be the good people that rise out of that, all of that attention and dominate the market. Inside of network marketing, there's thousands of companies. Are there some that are at straight up scams? Yep. Will they get exposed pretty quickly? Yep. And the good ones will continue to grow and build and grow and build. But just for a basic tutorial, there's only 4 things that people do in network marketing. They sell a product using word of mouth advertising, all right, which is they educate consumers. 2, they recruit. They build a team. So they start getting some leverage. It's not just all on them.
Yep.
3, they duplicate. They teach people how to recruit and sell. Start building an organization.
Yep.
And 4, they lead. They improve the productivity of the teams that they have based upon the leadership. So that's what I do, is I teach people how to do those things and grow and scale, right? Not for everybody, for sure. But here's what I would tell you. I would challenge anyone in the world, including an influencer, including YouTubers.
Yep.
For the average person starting today, network marketing is not perfect. It's for sure. The catch really is you have to endure the loss of social esteem from ignorant people who don't really understand it or maybe prejudged it. So you have to endure that. That's not fun sometimes. But it's not perfect, but I will tell you, I would take the Pepsi challenge on any entrepreneurial endeavor, network marketing model versus any other side hustle model, and network marketing is better. For sure.
I'd rather do network marketing than Uber. I'd rather do network marketing than what?
Any solopreneur venture, because you don't get scale. I work for myself. I'm a graphic designer. All right, fine. Stop designing some graphics and tell me how much money you're going to make.
If you stop working, it stops. But if you do network marketing
you grow a network.
You grow a network.
Robert Kiyosaki said that wealthy people look for and build networks. Everybody else just looks for work. So you can build a network on social, but how are you monetizing? If you're just going to be doing your ad revenue, you got to get pretty big and pretty influential for that to be a meaningful number. But could you build a tribe of super rabid people and then say, hey, you know how I pay for doing all this passion stuff? I knit, mittens, and that's my thing, or I bake cupcakes, and my channel is the cupcake of the day. But I afford to do this. I got this other thing over here that makes me some money.
Yep.
If you DM me if you want to find out about it, I'll show you. And you can even work with me if you want to. So I know people who've recruited like 10, 12,000 people from their social media platforms.
Yes.
And then those people start growing an organization. They create huge income. So instead of an ad automatically being inserted into your podcast, then maybe it's your own that you say, hey, you need to make some extra money. You've got ambition. You're hungry. You're coachable. Go check this out. Might not be for you, but check it out. If you like it, then we can do something. If you don't, then you don't have to. But I just think if you're going to do something in addition to what you're doing, you have to have scale.
Yeah.
You have to have leverage. And if you don't have leverage, it's just another job. And you're going to be more and more unhappy having 15 jobs.
It's fascinating because on the list of ways to make money on YouTube, people are excited about the creator economy. And this is, I think, an overlooked and underrated opportunity because they want YouTube to pay them ad revenue. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Affiliate marketing, cool, but not scale. And sometimes the percentages can be low. You could do brand deals, but those are also dry up. That's not automation. That is a job because you're going to work for each brand on a repeated scale. You could try to make your own coffee cups or merch or t-shirts. Why not? If you build a big enough brand and people want that, you can try to get crowdfunding, Patreon, channel memberships. Also cool. Package a course, big fan. Do an online course of some kind, do coaching or events. But you have this whole other opportunity of network marketing that could be a part of your YouTube channel brand. If your channel brand was helping people get healthier, if it was anti-aging, if it was cooking, health, biohacking, you could look for a company and find products that you believe in and love that could tie into your channel. Your whole channel would not have to be taken over by that, but it could be one of the verticals with which a product you already love and use is integrated into your content. But then you would have created the ability for not just essentially having your own product, because network marketing is giving you a business, right? That you don't have to do all the heavy lifting and the distribution and all the shipping. And then addition to that, if you start recruiting people, as you mentioned, and people with social followings have that advantage, then it is this massive, again, I think underrated and overlooked opportunity. Also because I often encourage people the size, like the 1,000 True Fans thing. Everyone's trying to get 1 million subscribers because they hope YouTube off of a volume of that big will pay them ad revenue. Not realizing that if you have a better vehicle, a better money plan, then even with a smaller audience, this could become a full-time thing, and network marketing could be a way to do that.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Somebody's got 1 million followers on YouTube. What would be a successful metric as far as number of video views per month on average? A reasonable, not a rock star, but reasonable.
Yeah, well, these days,
how many views a month?
Getting 10% can be hard.
10% of the subscribers. So
yeah,
a million.
4 million. I just was studying these videos and comparing things, and I looked at a channel with 4 million subscribers, and 400,000 views on the video was pretty impressive.
I'm talking about views for the month.
Total for the month. Shorts make it a little messy, but because we're 2.5, we're getting about 8 million views a month on Think Media, 2.5 million subscribers.
So let's say take that down to 1 million. That would be about 5 million views.
Yeah,
something like that. And would you consider yourself above average?
Yes.
Okay. So let's take it down to 3 million views.
Sure.
How much is somebody going to make from 3 million views?
3 million views.
Assuming reasonable quality.
A $1 RPM is $3,000, and we have a higher RPM of $7, so we'd make 20 grand. So anyone would make somewhere from $3,000 to $15,000, probably anywhere from 3 to 20, and it really depends on the niche.
Yeah. So $3,000 to $15,000 per month
from the ad revenue. That
so under monetizes that community. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's just pitiful. I mean, if I can give you some brag stats, I've helped almost 1,000 people make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
That are not branded, that are not influencers,
not famous.
They're just average people who are ambitious in the network marketing space. Mm-hmm. I've helped tens of thousands make 6 figures. I've helped millions make a nice part-time income. Which is what a YouTube channel is for most people. Millions.
Yes. Yeah.
So now take that following and 3 million views, and now you can guide a little trickle of them over into some sustainable vehicle that will continue to replicate and repeat with or without your involvement. Those ambitious people will go take it from there. Mm-hmm. if you get 3 million views and you don't find a way.
Icy hot. Ice works fast, heat makes it last. You're so back.
New Halo Top with delicious mix-ins in every bite, but half the calories.
Use Kayak to compare hundreds of travel sites at once? I like to do things myself. No machine is better than me.
Kayak. Search one and done. Looking for unbeatable style and value? Visit Turk Furniture with 4 locations in Joliet, Bradley, LaSalle, and Ottawa. We offer a wide selection of high-quality furniture for every room in your home. Whether you're updating your living room, bedroom, or dining space. Don't miss our sleep center, too. Enjoy great prices, friendly service, and fast delivery. Transform your home today at Turk Furniture. Visit us in-store or online for incredible deals and the best selection around.
To personally enroll 300 of them.
Total, yeah.
And,
that's
and
0.01%.
And you know how much money you can make from 300 people coming into your team in 1 month?
Sure.
And any kind of compound, it's mammoth. People are, if you do it right, whatever you're earning from your ad revenue should be a minimum 10 times. If you could take a small portion of those people, siphon them over to the side, have them check out what you do in order to be able to monetize your business, and let them go. Let them go do it, and let the company take care of all the support. Find a genre or a product category, a service category that matches your content.
That's my next question. So going along the lines of realizing, of course, there's bad actors in any industry, or there's companies that aren't great, but there's also companies that are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I know, as a side note, whenever I drive through Utah, there's like
all the billboards.
There's like a corridor of
yeah.
the different warehouses and all the companies. And so what would be, for those looking to earn extra income, what would be the first steps they should take to get into the network marketing world right? You said find a company, product, or a service that aligns with what you're already doing. How would you encourage somebody to do the research to find that alignment? And we're a mission-driven community here. So, Of course, we're looking about how to monetize, but we want it to be service first. Sure. Of course, the worst thing ever would be to get behind a product we didn't believe in. Yeah. So how do I do my research to find a product or a service or something that I can legitimately try out? Maybe I have to test a few. How would I go about that?
Well, first of all, if you give me a category of content creator.
Ben Azadi's helping people with health, keto camp. He's helping people with ketosis. And we can spin off a lot of health. So let's do health.
There's hundreds of health companies.
Yeah.
There's companies specifically on keto. There's companies on wellness. There's company on brain wellness, gut health. There's all you have to do is just type that into a Google search, and you'll be able to pull those up and take a look. Let me give you 5 quick criteria to take a look at when trying to pick a company.
Perfect.
1, take a look at the product, and you need to answer 4 questions. Number 1, is there a need for this product? Number 2, does the product meet that need? Number 3, is it priced to sell? Is it competitive? And number 4, is it priced for profit? Is there enough margin for it to be worth your time? And then I would say 5th, does it align with your community? Okay? Mm-hmm. If you say yes to that, then take a look at the company. Do they have the financial capability and the leadership necessary to be able to pivot through difficult times? Do they have any kind of track record, any kind of experience, any evidence that you can point to of success to lower your risk, feel comfortable? I'm not saying startup doesn't have benefits, but it's a myth that people at the beginning make all the money. They're normally the people that get the arrows in the back. And it's a myth that only the people at the top make money. That's not true either. So take a look at the company itself. If you're comfortable that they've got enough leadership to pivot if they make mistakes. 3rd, take a look at the compensation structure. How can you make money on a direct sale? Like an affiliate type thing. And then how can you make money from team building? And if you can make money, kind of startup, midterm, big money, you feel comfortable that that's good. 4th thing to take a look at, what's the support that they provide? What can you do on your side? What will they do on their side? What's available to kind of leverage your time? And then 5th, take a look at the timing. Is this the right time for this product or this product category? Is it? It doesn't have to be white hot all the time. It just has to be useful. And if it matches your community, you answer. You don't have to have all 5 to have a good business, but if you have all 5, then I think you say yes and at least explore it, because your risk is so low. You can literally I'm only going to have 10 people and go test this out and you tell me if it's any good. If it's no good, find another one. So yeah, that's how I would approach it.
There's not just health products, there's not just different types of products, but I don't know if it's a new trend, but one of the things I've noticed is there's network marketing real estate companies.
Yeah, big, huge. And insurance.
And insurance. Okay, my question for you, if you were an agent full-time, you're a real estate agent, if you were selling insurance, would you pivot, switch, leave your current maybe traditional model or some kind of a different model to be in one of those opportunities, and why?
In 5 seconds. Because the traditional model is this: you become an agent, you become a broker who has a group of agents, and when that other person becomes a broker, you lose those people, right? And then they go build their thing, and you're always kind of dealing with your little group of agents. But there's limits. You're not going to get compensated on, generations of house sales or real estate or wealth management vehicles. But if I could build a team of agents,
yeah,
I can go recruit a bunch of agents, give them a very, very high commission margin that kind of crushes the regular real estate model competition when it comes to their fees, and there's a residual impact. So the dream for a real estate agent is 5 years from now, you're not putting out an open house sign and, serving cheese and crackers on a Sunday afternoon when you could be doing something else. You've got people building. I know a guy who's making $2 million a month in one of these real estate companies.
Yeah.
Just on building a team and teaching them how to be more productive. And they're all sharing ideas. They're all growing together. And I know one insurance company has 150 people making $1 million a year.
Wow.
150 people, network marketing model, making $1 million a year. It's just unbelievable.
I think for sure, I heard one person say too that for sometimes the smoke and shade that network marketing gets, there's a whole other perspective that it has been historically one of the greatest ways to develop leaders, to reprogram your mind, to change your thinking, to teach you new skills. And like you said, you didn't lose that much money, even if you ended up being lazy and you didn't follow through. If you took away some relationships and some skills, it's the most valuable thing in the world.
Yeah.
You became more valuable. The flip side, though, I think also when it's funny, critics of this, those real estate companies or those insurance companies are presenting a better opportunity. Yeah. I think that's one of the questions I ask as a CEO. I don't feel entitled that my team members will stay with me. I am asking, how can I provide them a better opportunity? How can I not just honor their skills and work culture and work-life balance or whatever else, but we're going to do it wrong, and I'm not going to keep people long-term if I don't share the wealth, if I don't create opportunities for residual incomes or increasing incomes. And that's why we're doing profit share and asking ourselves all these different questions. If anything, learning that skill set, small business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are looking for an opportunity, people that are creating opportunities for others, there's a lot to learn here. One of the things Patrick Bet-David has been helping me with, he's really great at comp plans. He thinks in comp plans. He thinks in terms of his own team and whatnot. And of course, he did that very good at PHP, but now just even with his current staff. And it sounds like...
And do people know that his company is a network marketing company?
Maybe they did. I probably publicly that they wouldn't have made that connection until you articulated it.
Yeah, and built that huge business, sold an interest in that business, still runs that business, and is also kind of growing his media empire now.
Yes,
super fascinating. And what you're saying is right. There's a better way to compensate a person who shows ambition. The whole world's going to performance-based model. Every single job is going to be switched to performance-based, not by the hour, not by the month, not by the year. Government's going to be the last one to switch to that, but every place else is going to be, we're going to pay you for the result.
Yes.
Give us the result, you get the money. Give us the next result, you get the money. You can't hide in companies anymore. Those days are rapidly disappearing. So if you're going to live in a performance-based economy anyway, why live with a cap? See, in the side of the network marketing model, the interesting thing is if somebody's making $2 million a month, okay, as an independent contractor connected to a company, in a traditional company, not a network marketing company, a traditional company, how long would they let them make that $2 million a month? They'd have meetings real fast.
Yeah.
They would like, is he really worth
Sure.
$2 million a month? I bet he'd still do it for $1 million a month.
Yeah.
I bet he'd do it for $500,000. Let's cut his territory. Let's cut his commission. Let's revamp the whole structure. Let's carve out another division and move it to somebody else underneath somebody else. This is too much. Like I said, I've helped 1,000 people make $1 million a year in network marketing. None of them would be able to survive a board of directors meeting in a traditional company justifying that income. But what they traded was being underpaid for a period of time, fairly paid for a short period of time, and now they get overpaid. And that's the promise of what they do inside of there. They'll give you awards. They won't try and cut your legs out and change the comp plan and change your territory or whatever. So it's so much, for a high achiever, it's so much better. If you're going to be performance compensated anyway,
yes,
it's so much better. So, like I say, it's not for everybody. You have to have some thick skin because there's a lot of misunderstanding from the amateurs running around promising the world. But if you can get past that and see the real numbers, whatever the profession is or whatever the product is, there's products, physical products, there's technology products, there's educational platforms, there's insurances and real estate, and you're going to see other aspects of the economy compensating people in this way creatively.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Before we hit our final topic, I found some stats for the UK that suggest that women are typically more involved in network marketing than men. And in Europe, 85% versus 15%, with the largest percentage in favor of women. Out of pure curiosity, why are women more involved in network marketing than men?
Globally, it's like, I think if you take the whole world, it's like 73%. It might be 77, somewhere in the 70s.
Okay.
70 plus percent.
7 women for every 3 men.
Word of mouth advertising.
Walt got good at money. Now he can be a little bad.
Hey, Grandpa! Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Entivio, Entivio, Entivio.
Attention super markup shoppers, just a heads up. These loyalty cards with exclusive deals, it's a sham. At Aldi, you don't need one. You just walk in and save. That's why they're #1 in everyday low prices.
It's an Aldi thing.
They're going to say, well, what did you do? And they're going to tell their friends. They got this essential oil, or they got this special filtered water, or they got this, or they've got that. They've got a solution to somebody's problems, and they're very good at educating the consumer, and they're very good at word of mouth advertising, and they're very good at team building. Building a culture, growing through all that. Guys are too, don't get me wrong. And for most of I've been doing this 35 years, the early stages, all the top earners were guys. But the ladies were selling and the top earners were the guys. It was weird. But now it's a complete shift. And I would say it's, the people on stage speaking, the big earners, it's like 50-50. Something like that. I would say a lot of the sellers, the home party people, the direct selling folks, are a lot more women on that side. The builders, I'd say probably 50-50.
I'm curious what your thoughts. I like how you said, it's not for everybody, but it's, if you're ambitious, you want to take your destiny in your own hands, your future in your own hands. If you're willing to put in the work, if you have thick skin.
And you want scale.
And you want scale. and you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow. Yahoo Finance revealed this stat. 7 million American men are done looking for work and they've punched out. While the U.S. labor market remains incredibly tight, with the economy adding 517,000 jobs, around 7 million prime-age men between the ages of 25 and 54 are sitting out. They're just not working. They're just going, I'm not going to work. I'm just going to not work. I'm just going to be lazy. What's your opinion on why that's happening and what problem that has for America? Where's that start? Where's that coming from?
There's stats in our country that I completely don't understand. Like, one statistic is the average household income in this country is $55,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to just imagine for a moment that you have $55,000 before taxes, and you have to take care of your family. I don't know how it's even possible. How do you have insurance? How do you survive? I don't even get it for that. So that's one. The other thing is, we've been trained to be this army of robots doing as we're told. You know, the educational system is like an employee farm. We grow employees in the educational system that'll fit into somebody else's entrepreneurial dream. You know, oh, we have a crop of accountants over here. Let's spread them out to these different companies. We have a crop of attorneys, and we're going to spread them out over here. We have a crop of whatever, salespeople. We're going to spread them out over here, right? So at some point, a person rebels against being told what to do and not enjoying it, working with people that they don't like, being underappreciated, underpaid for their value. And that's the trade that people make. They think they're getting security, but they trade this illusion of security for a regular every 2-week paycheck. And they become disillusioned and they say, you know what? I'm out of this game. I'm tired of working for this boss that has to die for me to get a promotion. I'm tired of somebody chopping my legs out from under me in a political environment in my company. I'm tired of being discriminated against because of my gender or my age or you know, my race or my beliefs. I'm tired of it. I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But they're checking out of a system that didn't serve them. It may have served our parents or our grandparents' generation, you know, that get a job, work for them for 40 years, get retired, all that stuff. That's not our world today. And people are pivoting every 3 to 5 years to something. Mm-hmm. But I'll answer your question in this way. Why am I still working when I have all my needs taken care of? I have my dream lifestyle.
Yep.
I have all the stuff. Why? 2 reasons. 2 things make me happy. 1 is when I'm growing, and 2 is when I'm contributing. And both have to be in place. Because if I'm growing and I'm not contributing, I just get over bloated and I'm just restless and unhappy. If I'm contributing, giving, but I'm not growing, then I'm emptied out. So I have to have this loop of constantly growing and contributing, contributing. And there was great fuel for me to get my needs taken care of and my family. That was a drive. But most people get to that spot. And once they're there, they go, this isn't what I thought. You know, it's so cliche. You know, the person makes the money and they're unhappy. They're unhappy because they don't have a mission, a cause, a passion, a purpose. They did it to try and get away from it. So they get the money, they go to the beach. How many pina coladas can you have before you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be re-engineering that beach real fast and see how many businesses you can create off of that beach because, you know, take me to a sandy beach and put me on a lawn chair and I'm good for about an hour, maybe 2. But you tell me I have to stay there 2 weeks, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Right? So growth and contribution is one thing, and being in the game. You know, it's so fun to be in the game. When you check out of the game, you kind of check out of life, I think. And I'm not saying check out of just work, but I mean just check out. Say I'm done. I'm checked out of this life. Well, tell me what example you're showing to your kids. Tell me how happy you are really. Tell me how much Netflix you can watch before you've seen it all. Tell me, you know, how many beers you're going to drink out on the patio before he's like, I need a project.
Yeah.
And some people throw themselves into golf or they throw themselves into this hobby or that hobby. But what I love about what I do is the fuel to take care of myself was one thing. But the fuel when I get to help others is a super fuel. I live for the tap on the shoulder.
All right. So as we land the plane, I saw an article in Entrepreneur about Tom Hanks talking about an advertisement that was using his likeness that he never approved. And so it was fake AI. Someone was able to turn him into an avatar, duplicate his voice, duplicate his likeness, and start selling something. I'm curious, how are you embracing AI? Do you think AI is a net positive or negative for society? And as we even started this whole conversation talking about some of the crisis ahead, how disruptive do you think AI is going to be to the next 12 to 24 months?
Our ability to adapt, to pivot, this is an opportunity. I can get in front of this. I can be the first one that talks about this. I can move this over here. How can I use this to do that? We built a $20 million studio just down the street from here.
Yeah.
To adapt during COVID to do hybrid events. Right? Full 360. It's like you're in a Coliseum. It's unbelievable. 25,000 square foot space to host hybrid events. In person now, 400 people in person. And the most we ever had, it's like 350,000 or something like that, live, interactive. So that's an example of taking a technology and saying, how can we use it with creativity? So when we're a hologram walking around somewhere, when AI is I just had a meeting this morning with my team because we really want to be able to serve the different languages around the world with the content, because we have there's 120 million people involved in the network marketing space, and a lot of them don't speak English. So there's a technology that we're vetting right now that will take my voice and my content and will translate it in my voice in Japanese, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in German, whatever, with the full dialect, the whole thing, and create a great experience for those people. So it's going to be my voice doing it, even though I don't know those languages. I think that's tremendous in order to be able to open up opportunities to help more people. So it's just like, whatever happens, it's like, are we going to be able to stop AI? It's been happening for 10 years. It's still going. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to stop it. So what are we going to do about it? If we can't control how it's regulated, all right, how can we use it to our advantage? How can we make sure, can we hope that it doesn't get used for evil too much? I think with the Me Too movement and everybody being canceled and stuff, there's going to be a lot of, hold on, let's find out if that was for real, what that was said or done, because it might have just been a deep fake.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll give everybody a little pause before they get too hard on judgment. But we're living in an exciting time.
Yes.
And if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what comes out, you'll just pivot.
Yeah.
If you're not, literally, entire departments and entire companies are going to be wiped out overnight, faster than you ever saw. They estimate that 60% of the S&P 500 will no longer exist in 5 years.
Jeez.
Gone. So gobbled up, wiped out, technology made obsolete, we don't know. But if you're an entrepreneur in any of those companies, all you got to do is find what's the next thing, get in front of it. What's the next thing, get in front of it. I remember talking to Gary Vaynerchuk. It's like, you're going to talk about wine and all this stuff. When are you need to build something. You got to build something. Tasting wine and helping the wine libraries, it's great, but you're so talented.
Yeah.
Go build, and they built this monster agency, and he's innovating. You see him innovate inside of the Web3. Mm-hmm. Tom Bilyeu, another example of spend a lot of money in innovating inside of Web3. The entrepreneurs will always see it. They'll always get a little bit in front of it. They'll be ahead of the wave. They'll take advantage of momentum. And everybody else will have plenty to blame.
Sure.
In the meantime.
Well, I mean, it's a good way to wrap the conversation kind of where we started as well. If you've listened to this entire episode, you've got to reprogram your mind. You have to embrace the entrepreneur mentality. You have to adapt or die. You have to innovate. And the good news is it'll be the tale of two cities, because if you continue to develop new skills, learn, level up, grow, if you embrace change, then you can thrive in these coming years. And so you've added so much value, so grateful for you. And with 35 years in the industry, all the wisdom. I know our community is so grateful that you took the time to come all the way over from across Vegas to the Think Media Studios here. For people that want to connect with you, shout out. Where are the best places? Of course, we'll link it all up in the show notes.
Find me on social, Eric Worre or Network Marketing Pro, either way. I didn't come here with any agenda. I got nothing to sell. What I would say is for this community, if you're listening to this free content and you're maybe watching the free videos that Think Media and Sean puts out, shorten the learning curve and go buy the course, get the coaching, get the mentoring, rip the Band-Aid off, get better fast. Time is so important. If you can get where you need to go in 3 months instead of 3 years, and then compound that for the rest of your working life, it's not even comparable. It's not 10 times. It's 100 times. It's 1,000 times. Time is so valuable, and the best cheat code you can have is a coach, a mentor. Virtual mentors are better than physical mentors, and masterminds. That's the best way. Get in proximity with greatness, pay for the privilege, and use that in order to get better faster. That's the most important thing. Time really matters.
Eric Worre, appreciate you.
Check out these deals of the week at Walgreens. Shop weekly deals at your store or at walgreens.com.
Introducing Blueprint AI, our new experience to help you design your website. Built by designers to put even more creative possibilities in your hands.
Way to do that is if you master and learn the law of simplicity. I think one of the biggest mistakes that content creators can make is they think that just because of good editing or good lighting, they're entitled to viewership and entitled to people caring. The better approach is the opposite approach. You know that I don't recommend starting a podcast. I recommend starting a video podcast because of the visual element. Could you level up your video with B-roll, with supplemental clips and footage, with drawings, with props, with animation? This book is the cheat code for creating better content. It's packed with practical tips for content creators. And in this episode of the Think Media Podcast, we're going to be looking at some practical tips, including 10 ways to immediately improve your videos and get more views, 3 powerful laws of communication and how to apply them, why your current videos are not getting views and how to fix them, and then tips for mastering the ultimate skill for building a personal brand and a profitable online business. The book is The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication by John Maxwell. And I read it so you ultimately don't have to, but of course, if you want to check it out on audio or the physical book, we'll link it up in the description down below. But why is communication so important? Well, according to Harvard Business Review, the top criterion for professional advancement is effective communication. I think we realize that essentially what YouTube videos are communication. If you're going to be on camera, or even if you're not on camera with a faceless channel, if you improve as a communicator, your videos will improve. Warren Buffett emphasizes the value of honing communication skills for personal and professional growth. And he talks about that as being the peak skill necessary for earning more. And so today we're going to cover 3 of the 16 laws and some tactical tips underneath each of those. And again, if you want to check them all out, pick up the book. Number 1, the law of content. This states that when we have something worth saying, people will listen. I think one of the biggest mistakes that content creators can make is they think that just because of good editing or good lighting, or just because they make a video, they're entitled to viewership and entitled to people caring. I think that the better approach is the opposite approach. We should feel like we are not entitled to views, not entitled to subscribers, not entitled to people's attention, and that we have to earn it, that we have to work for it, that we actually have to come up with something that is worth saying. And I mentioned 10 ways to immediately improve your videos. This law is packed full of practical tips, and here are a few. Great communicators bridge the success gap and relate to their audience. One of the most powerful things you can do in your videos is understand that people want to know about your struggle before they are open to learning from your success. Videos that just brag or just talk about the result without the struggle fall flat from making a true connection with viewers. Hopefully on YouTube, if you are sharing an answer to a problem, if you're helping people reach their goals, you're not just telling them the solution. By the way, that will please people, and there's no reason you can't get views from that. But if you want to strengthen your content, you want to bridge the success gap. Are you articulating your struggle? Think about it. When you hear a public speaker, if all they get up on stage and do is brag about how successful they are, it actually builds a wall. But if at first they relate that they've been there, they've struggled, they've also been through the process, and through pain and trial and hardship, they have found a solution, and now they want to share that solution with you. If you can weave that into your content, it'll be more powerful. Start any message by understanding your audience's perspective. Whew. Here's the question. Before you sit down and outline your video, do you truly understand who your audience is? Do you truly understand their feelings, emotions, needs? We say at Think Media, the creator who understands the viewer best wins. So if you're going to start a video, you want to understand your audience's desires, perspective, point of view, beliefs. And the big mistake is 99% of content creators don't even know who they're making content for. And even if they think they do, a lot of times there's a disconnect in that area. Identify and operate within your strength zones for credibility. It's a good content tip. If you try to create content about something you're not strong at, you're going to lose to somebody who's stronger at that content. Personally, I try to stay in my lane. There's a lot of things where I'm happy to go on a video podcast and be interviewed about. And there's many things where I have no clue about. When I think about my strength zones, if you want to talk about YouTube, let's go. If you want to talk about business, let's go. Marketing, let's go. If you want to talk about the Bible, let's go. If you want to talk about politics, I don't know. If you want to talk about pop culture, I kind of know. I'm not going to go work at BuzzFeed. I'm not going to go work at TMZ. Those are not my strength zones or my passion zones. So you're going to have maximum credibility when you operate within your strength zone. Have a clear thesis. It should have a core to its communication. And are you trying to communicate too many things in one video? Is the point unclear in the video? Is your communication generally foggy? Clarity is power. So do you have a clear thesis? Another point here is research is crucial, both for specific talks and for continued personal growth. One of the ways to power up your content is to improve your research. So how can you invest more in research, develop your skill of research? And I liked that John highlighted the benefit of it not just being powerful for the content itself, but also helpful for your continual growth. One of the things I love about doing this podcast, one of the things I love because I actually am passionate about YouTube and video marketing and social media, is I've created a job that I enjoy doing, meaning I like to research about YouTube, but when I do, I get smarter and I grow my knowledge, and I include that in videos, and you get to benefit, and I get stronger. Hopefully the content gets better. It's cool to be in a position where the monetization loop is helpful to fund being able to do this full time. And I know that that's also what your aspiration is as well in your particular area. But I want to encourage you to the development of the skill of research and the inclusion of good research in your content will make it stronger. Outlining provides a structure for your message. Can you outline your videos? Numbering your points or using mnemonic devices can make your message memorable? Can you number your points? That's why we're doing 3 points today as well, by the way. And a lot of times I like to outline and have numbers so there's structure to the content. And then mnemonic devices could be something like in our tech episode, we talked about AVL, audio, video, lighting. Maybe your points are connected to a framework of some kind. In fact, we're going to talk about the 4 H's, the 4 primary connection points of communication in just a second. It's 4 H's. It's kind of a mnemonic device that John created that we'll touch in just a second. Craft messages using research, illustrations, and stories from your own life. There's a couple ways to power things up. And I love this. Every message is like an airplane flight requiring a successful takeoff and landing. Good takeoffs can be built using questions, quotes, connections, while landings should summarize and empower the audience. Now, there is an old joke here on the podcast and at Think Media that I'm always landing the plane and that I'm, taxiing to the terminal, and that we're stuck on the tarmac and that we're circling the airport, and this joke that I can't land the plane. But every message is like an airplane flight, and those are some powerful tips for hooks. Can you open with a question? Can you open with a powerful quote? Can you open by making some kind of connection? Of course, the goal in communication is to connect with the viewer here on YouTube. And so we've already covered a lot, and we have 2 full more laws to go through and the 4 primary connection points. But here's a summary of the bullets I just hit. Can you relate in your content? Do you understand your audience's perspective? Can you play to your strength zones? Do you have a clear thesis? Are you doing your research? Do you have a good outline for your content? Are you numbering your points? Can you include illustrations? Can you include stories? And every communication is like an airplane flight. There's 10 little nuggets under the law of content. And before we go to the next law, here's the 4 primary connection points of communication. Heart, help, humor, and hope. And so it's crucial to identify and lead with your best connecting strength. So which of these 4 is your strongest? Heart. This means genuine, heartfelt communication based on empathy and authenticity. I think we can all improve our content. This is a cheat code for content creators. If your videos can be more authentic and you're not faking it, you're comfortable in your own skin, you've figured out your own voice, when you've got empathy for the viewer and that's communicated through the camera, when you're speaking from the heart and you're being genuine, and this might take some time to develop, not only in the skill of communication, but getting aligned with the topics you're covering with your channel topic. Heart is a superpower. And for some of us, that might be your primary superpower, or for others, it might be a little bit more of a weakness. So let me know if that's yours. Help involves offering practical advice and tools for change. This is probably one that I lean to. I want to develop them all, but I am obsessed with crafting content that's actually helpful, that's value-based, that answers specific questions, that solves specific problems. Humor is about seeing the lighter side of life and connecting through laughter. If you have a gift of humor, that's a powerful way to improve your content. Hope entails showing future possibilities, inspiring belief in a better future. Maybe some people you watch because you feel encouraged after, strengthened after. Your purpose in watching is to get your mind right, your motivation up, to get your mood shifted, your emotions charged. And so 4 elements: heart, help, humor, and hope. One of those is probably your strongest. But if you improve even marginally all 4 and have a heartfelt message that solves someone's problem, that makes them laugh in the process, and that ends with giving them hope, talk about a powerful message, a powerful YouTube video. Now, let's hit the other 2 laws, but if you watch the YouTube version of the podcast, smash like and rate and review on audio. But let's hit number 2, the law of simplicity. The law of simplicity. Einstein suggested that if you can't explain something simply, you might not understand it well enough. So effective, simple communication requires significant effort. It's easier to be verbose than to be concise. The reason I wanted to include this law is I actually think that this is one of the ultimate opportunities
for YouTube content creators. Hey, we're about to get back into the podcast in just a second, but I have a question for you. Do you want to grow your personal brand this year? Do you need more leads and sales in your business? If the answer is yes, then right now is the best time to go all in on YouTube. Today's podcast is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com, where you can get on-demand access to a 1-hour deep dive training revealing how to start and grow a profitable YouTube channel this year. For a limited time, you can get access to this on-demand class entirely for free, where you will learn the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when starting a YouTube channel, the new rules and changes that have been happening on YouTube and how you can use them to create an unfair advantage, and the exact strategy we use at Think Media to generate over 350,000 organic views every single day. The data is clear. 70% of viewers claim that YouTube makes them more aware of new brands. So don't wait any longer to start growing your brand and business with YouTube. Just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to this no-fluff, highly tactical, free on-demand training. That's thinkmasterclass.com. One of the things we do on YouTube is we are trying to make complex things simple. We are trying to take 8 hours of research and put it into an 8-minute video. Well, the only way to do that is if you master and learn the law of simplicity. We're trying to take 8 years of experience and put it into a 45-minute longer form YouTube video or a web class of some kind. The only way you do that is not by being more verbose and more complex and adding more information. You actually do that effectively by simplifying content down. And a lot of the channels review and a lot of the channels I review or the creators that I give feedback to struggle because they're over communicating, they're adding too much information. A lot of times their content is full of too much data, not enough story. They have not distilled down the content. And according to Einstein, if you can't explain something simply, you got to work harder. You might not understand it well enough. So I really emphasized, and it stood out to me, that John Maxwell was like, effective, simple communication requires significant effort. If you think this is hard, good, because it is. And the reason you'll be rewarded with views and subscribers and channel growth is because you did something really hard. You processed and you thought and you wrote it and you rewrote it. And when it wasn't quite clear, you kept working until the clarity was tangible. And you're like, well, that's very complex. And I found a simple way to communicate that. Also, remember that the most effective messaging when it comes to the internet, social media, this is one of the points. Clarity should be the first goal. If an 8th grader can't understand and explain your message, it isn't simple enough. Law of simplicity. So you're going to see bigger growth on your YouTube channel if you've been communicating maybe at a too complex level, 10th grade, 12th grade, PhD. Well, there's a reason why it's not working at a broad appeal level, because if an 8th grader can't understand it, then make it simpler. Clarity should be your first goal. And I love this quote from Woodrow Wilson. He was asked, how long will it take you to prepare to give a great talk or a public speech? And he said, it depends. If I am to speak for 10 minutes, I need a week for preparation. If 15 minutes, I need 3 days. If a half an hour, 2 days. If an hour, I am ready now. Let that sink in. If I am to speak for 10 minutes, I need a week for preparation. 10 minutes is a YouTube video. If I am to speak for an hour, I can do it right now. 1 hour is a live stream. What's the point? It's crazy that this quote was said before YouTube existed. It just speaks to high quality communication is challenging. And if you want to make 10 viral minutes of content on YouTube, imagine if you put a week into that. If you understand your message, but you really aren't refining it, well, hey, let's go live right now and just, chat. Take 60 minutes to get the message across. Man, it's something powerful about that quote that I think could apply to what it is we are doing. Great communicators prioritize simplifying complex ideas. Simplicity is the hallmark of powerful communication. Winston Churchill and JFK were praised for their clear and powerful speeches. Effective communication is about conveying clear, powerful ideas. C.S. Lewis emphasized translating thoughts into accessible language, suggesting that if you can't, your thoughts may be confused. So can you
translate your complex topic or difficult to understand topic into everyday accessible language. And if you can't, maybe you need to work harder to distill your thoughts into more accessible communication, especially if you want broader appeal and bigger impact on YouTube. Brevity is crucial. Impactful statements often require fewer words, like the Lord's Prayer or the Gettysburg Address. Short speeches often require more preparation. Effective communication is about concise, impactful content, not length. John Medea's law of simplicity stresses the importance of focus in communication. Remove the unnecessary, highlight the essential. Imagine if on your next video you removed the unnecessary and you highlighted the essential. Practicing the law of simplicity in communication means less is more and clarity is power. John Maxwell suggests that we should deliver messages simply, slowly, and with a smile for effective communication. Of course, you have to have your own style, and you might say, but Sean, aren't we doing jump cuts and talking crazy like crazy YouTubers? And I think that you've got to understand your audience, you've got to understand your style of content, and different mediums require different methods, but there is something powerful that if the content is rich and clear and specific and poignant, that sometimes slowing down doesn't mean that you're going to lose the audience's attention. If the video is boring, if the video lacks substance, if the video lacks research, well, it doesn't matter how fast or slow you go. And so I think there's something there as it pertains to delivering your messages simply, slowly, and with a smile for effective communication. And great communicators turn complex topics into simple concepts. All right, so we're about to get into law number 3, and I think this one's actually my favorite. But before we do, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com. If you're interested in taking your YouTube channel to the next level or starting a successful channel that gets views and makes money in multiple ways, I want to encourage you. We have a free 1-hour class that's available on demand at thinkmasterclass.com. Actually, depending on when you're watching this, I also teach it live